The distress beacon blinked red on the navigation screen, but every ship in the sector was running away from it. Oliver Reeves watched 3 alien vessels jump to faster than light speed within seconds of each other. Their panic was visible even from this distance. His radio crackled with warnings. "Human vessel, this is Station Command. That sector is under full quarantine. A Class 9 predator has killed 17 researchers. Turn back immediately." Oliver scratched his beard and looked at the coordinates. The research station hung in space like a broken toy, its lights flickering.
Class 9, huh?
"What makes it so dangerous?" "It killed 17 trained scientists in under 4 minutes," the voice replied, trembling. "We have footage. The creature is unstoppable. Military forces are being deployed to destroy the entire station. How long until they arrive?" 6 hours. "Human, please. Your species may not fear death, but this thing is different. It's a nightmare given flesh." Oliver ended the transmission and set course for the station. He had hauled cargo through pirate territory, navigated asteroid fields that made other pilots quit, and once landed on a planet with acid rain just to deliver medicine. A scared animal did not worry him much. The docking process was smooth despite the damage to the station. Oliver sealed his suit and stepped into the corridor. Blood marked the walls in dark streaks. Equipment lay scattered everywhere. He found the first body near the lab entrance, torn apart with surgical precision. His scanner showed no life signs in this section. He moved deeper into the station, following the trail of destruction. The research wing looked like a war zone. Computers were smashed. Containment cells hung open, their doors ripped from the hinges. Oliver found the security office and accessed the footage. The video showed a creature that made his breath catch. It was massive, covered in dark scales with bony plates running along its spine. Multiple rows of teeth filled a mouth that could swallow a human whole. 6 eyes glowed with an eerie light. 4 powerful legs ended in claws that cut through metal. But something was wrong with the footage. The creature was not hunting. It was defending itself. Electric prods sparked in the hands of the researchers. Containment fields trapped the creature against walls while they took samples. The creature's roars were not aggressive. They were pain. When it finally broke free, the killing was quick. But Oliver noticed something else. The creature only attacked those who heard it. 2 researchers who cowered in the corner were ignored completely. A sound echoed through the station. A low rumble that vibrated through the floor. Oliver followed it to the main cargo bay. The door was bent outward, hanging by one hinge. Inside, the creature huddled in the far corner. Bodies lay around it, but not from a feeding frenzy. They had fallen where the creature killed them during its escape. The creature itself was covered in wounds. Burns marked its scales. One of its legs was bleeding. Oliver stepped into the cargo bay slowly. The creature's 6 eyes locked onto him. Its body tensed, ready to spring. A growl rumbled from deep in its chest. "Easy there," Oliver said softly. He kept his hands visible and his movements slow. "I'm not here to hurt you." The creature's growl grew louder. Its claws scraped against the metal floor. Oliver could see intelligence in those eyes. This was not a mindless monster. This was a thinking being that had been tortured. He reached into his supply pack and pulled out a piece of dried meat from his rations. The creature's eyes followed the movement. Oliver tossed the meat halfway between them and stepped back. The creature stared at the food, then at Oliver. Minutes passed. Finally, it crept forward, keeping low to the ground. It snatched the meat and retreated to its corner. The entire time, its eyes never left Oliver. "There you go," Oliver said. "Nobody's going to hurt you anymore." His scanner beeped. Life signs registered, but something was odd about the readings. Oliver checked twice. According to the data, this creature was juvenile. Despite being the size of a small transport vehicle, it was basically a child. The creature finished the meat and made a sound Oliver had not heard in the footage. A chirp, almost bird-like. It was curious. Oliver sat down on the floor, making himself less threatening. "They really did a number on you, didn't they?" He gestured to the wounds covering the creature's body. "I've got medical supplies. Would you let me help?" The creature tilted its massive head. Intelligence gleamed in its eyes as it assessed him. Oliver had seen that look before in animals back on Earth. The wolves his family rehabilitated after they were shot by frightened farmers. The bears that were tortured in illegal facilities. The big cats that humans feared and tried to destroy. Fear made people cruel. Understanding made them human. The creature took one step forward. Then another. Oliver remained still, barely breathing. The massive predator that had killed 17 people crossed the cargo bay and stopped 3 feet away. It lowered its head slowly, bringing those terrible teeth close enough to bite Oliver in half. Instead, it sniffed him. The creature's hot breath washed over Oliver's face. He felt the power in every muscle, saw the sharpness of every claw. One wrong move and he would die. Oliver raised his hand slowly and touched the creature's snout. The scales were warm and surprisingly smooth between the bony plates. The creature's eyes closed for a moment. "I'm going to call you Fluffy," Oliver whispered, "because despite everything, you've got these little feathers mixed in with your scales." "See, not so scary." Fluffy made that chirping sound again. 3 hours had passed since Oliver found Fluffy in the cargo bay. The creature now lay on its side while Oliver cleaned and bandaged the worst wounds. Every time Oliver applied medicine to a burn, Fluffy flinched but did not pull away. "These burns are deep," Oliver muttered, working carefully around a particularly bad spot on Fluffy's ribs. "They hit you with maximum voltage. Probably thought it would make you more obedient." Fluffy made a low sound somewhere between a growl and a whimper. Oliver had heard similar sounds from abused dogs. The memory made his jaw tighten. His communicator buzzed. Oliver checked the screen and saw Commander Brill's identification code. The Centaurian officer had contacted him twice already. He ignored it the first 2 times, but she was persistent. "What?" Oliver answered without looking away from his work. "Human Reeves, you need to evacuate immediately. Our military fleet arrives in 2 hours. They have orders to destroy that creature and anyone protecting it." Oliver wrapped another bandage around Fluffy's leg. "Tell them to turn around." "The creature is not dangerous." A long silence followed. When Brill spoke again, her voice was tight with disbelief. "Not dangerous? It killed 17 researchers in minutes. The footage shows a perfect killing machine. The footage shows self-defense. Your researchers were torturing it. That does not matter. The creature is classified as a ravager. They were declared too dangerous to exist 300 years ago. We thought they were extinct." Oliver finished with the bandage and sat back. Fluffy's breathing had evened out. The creature watched him with those 6 intelligent eyes. If they were so dangerous, why did someone keep eggs hidden for 300 years? Brill did not answer right away. Oliver could hear her breathing, could almost see her struggling with the question. The researchers believed ravagers could be weaponized. They were wrong. Now we must correct their mistake. By killing an injured child, Oliver stood and faced the communicator. "This ravager is juvenile. Your own science teams classified it as such. You're planning to murder a baby because you're afraid of what it might become. It has already killed. After being electrocuted, cut open for samples, and kept in a cage barely large enough to turn around. What would you do in its place?" Fluffy made a chirping sound and rose to its feet. The creature moved to Oliver's side and pressed against him. The gesture was clear even across species. Protection, loyalty, trust. Oliver's communicator went silent. He thought Brill had ended the call, but then she spoke again. Her voice was quieter. "That creature is touching you." "Yes. And you are not dead." "Obviously not. This does not make sense. Ravagers are supposed to be mindless killers. The historical records show them attacking everything that moves." Oliver reached up and scratched behind one of Fluffy's bony plates. The creature leaned into the touch, making a sound that was almost a purr. "Maybe your historical records are wrong. Or maybe they left out important details. This is insanity. Human insanity. We're good at that." An alarm blared through the station. Oliver checked his scanner and swore. A second life sign had appeared on the lower deck. It was massive, even larger than Fluffy, and it was moving fast. "Brill, you need to get your boarding team off this station right now." "What? Why?" "Because there's a second ravager and this one is not friendly." The lower deck erupted in screams. Oliver heard weapons fire, heard something roar with pure rage. Fluffy tensed beside him, all 6 eyes focused on the door. "My team is under attack." Brill's voice was panicked now. 3 soldiers down. "The creature is coming up the main corridor." Oliver grabbed his gear and ran toward the cargo bay exit. Fluffy followed, moving with surprising grace despite the injuries. They reached the main corridor just as Brill and 4 Centaurian soldiers appeared from the opposite direction. The second ravager burst through a wall behind them. This one was fully grown, easily twice Fluffy's size. Its scales were scarred and its eyes were wild. Foam dripped from its jaws. Whatever the researchers had done to this creature had broken its mind completely. The mad ravager charged. Brill's soldiers fired their weapons, but the shots barely slowed it down. Oliver pushed Brill aside as the creature's claws tore through the space where she had been standing. Fluffy leaped between them and the mad ravager. The two creatures collided with a sound like thunder. They rolled across the corridor, biting and clawing. Fluffy was smaller and injured, but fought with intelligence. The mad ravager only knew rage. Oliver pulled Brill to her feet. "Get your people out of here. We cannot leave you with those things. I'm not leaving Fluffy." The fight moved down the corridor. Fluffy managed to pin the larger ravager against a wall, but the mad creature fought free. Blood splattered the walls from both animals. Then Fluffy did something that made everyone stop. Instead of going for a killing blow, Fluffy backed away. The creature placed itself between the mad ravager and the group of soldiers. It was protecting them. The mad ravager lunged again. Fluffy met the attack and drove the creature back away from the others. Step by step, Fluffy herded the mad ravager toward the damaged section of the station. Oliver understood. "Fluffy's trying to drive it away without killing it." "That is impossible," Brill whispered. "Ravagers do not show mercy. This one does." With a final roar, Fluffy shoved the mad ravager through a hole in the station wall. The creature tumbled into space, its roars fading as it drifted away. Fluffy limped back to Oliver, breathing hard. New wounds marked its body. Oliver checked the injuries quickly. "You're going to be okay, big guy." Brill stared at them both. Her soldiers had their weapons ready, but nobody fired. "You saved us," she said to Fluffy. "Why?" Fluffy chirped and pressed close to Oliver. Oliver's ship hummed through deep space, far from any registered flight path. Inside the cargo hold, Fluffy slept curled around a makeshift nest of blankets. The creature's wounds were healing faster than Oliver expected. Whatever ravagers were, they recovered quickly. Getting off the station had been easier than Oliver anticipated. Brill watched him load Fluffy into a modified cargo container without saying a word. When her commanding officer demanded a report, she claimed the ravager had escaped through the damaged hull. Oliver was grateful for the lie. Now, 3 days later, he was a wanted man. Every major news network in the galaxy showed his face. The headlines all said the same thing. "Human steals dangerous predator. Galactic safety at risk." Oliver did not care about the headlines. He cared about the creature sleeping in his cargo hold, the creature that brought him pieces of broken equipment like gifts, the creature that had learned to play gently after accidentally destroying Oliver's favorite toolkit. "You're like a giant puppy," Oliver said, watching Fluffy's chest rise and fall. A terrifying scale-covered puppy with too many teeth. His computer beeped. An incoming message, encrypted and marked urgent. Oliver opened it carefully. It was from Brill. "Reeves, you need to disappear completely. The council issued an arrest warrant. They want the Ravager destroyed and you imprisoned. But there is more. I found something in the old military archives. The Ravagers were not monsters. They were victims." Oliver read through the attached files. 300 years ago, the major galactic powers discovered Ravagers on a remote planet. They saw the creatures' strength and intelligence. They decided to make weapons out of them, but Ravagers were not mindless beasts. They were pack animals with complex social structures. When the galactic powers tried to enslave them, the Ravagers fought back. The war lasted 20 years. In the end, the galaxy declared Ravagers too dangerous to exist and hunted them to extinction. Except some survived, hidden eggs waiting for the right conditions. The researchers on the station had found those eggs and tried to finish what their ancestors started. They wanted biological weapons. They got traumatized children instead. Oliver felt sick. "They did not learn anything," he muttered. Fluffy woke and chirped softly. The creature moved to Oliver's side and nuzzled his hand. Oliver scratched behind Fluffy's head, feeling the warm scales under his fingers. "We need to find somewhere safe," Oliver said. "Somewhere they cannot find us." His navigation computer showed dozens of uninhabited systems. Oliver picked one at random and set course. They would hide at least until he figured out what to do next. The journey took 4 days. During that time, Oliver worked with Fluffy on commands: sit, stay, gentle. The creature learned faster than any animal Oliver had trained on Earth. Fluffy understood not just the words but the intent behind them. They were practicing in the cargo hold when the proximity alarm screamed. Oliver ran to the cockpit and checked the sensors. 3 ships closing fast. "Bounty hunters, of course," Oliver growled. The reward for capturing Fluffy was probably enormous. He activated the shields and pushed the engines to maximum. Fluffy, get in the reinforced section. Now. Fluffy chirped but obeyed, squeezing into the protected area Oliver had modified for exactly this situation. Oliver sealed the door and focused on flying. The first shots hit his rear shields. Oliver dodged and returned fire, but his cargo hauler was not built for combat. The bounty hunters had military-grade weapons. His shields would not last long. A fourth ship appeared from nowhere and opened fire on the bounty hunters. Oliver recognized the design. Centaurian military. Brill's voice came through the radio. Reeves, you are terrible at hiding. I'm a cargo hauler, not a spy. I noticed. Follow me, I know a place. Together they fought off the bounty hunters. 2 retreated immediately. The third tried to make one more attack run, but Brill's weapons convinced it to leave. Oliver followed her ship through a series of jumps that would lose any tracker. They arrived at a neutral trading station. Oliver docked carefully, making sure Fluffy stayed hidden. Brill met him at the airlock with her weapon ready. I am risking my career for this, she said. My commanding officer thinks I am on a scouting mission. If anyone discovers I helped you, I will be court-martialed. Why are you helping? Because I saw what that creature did. It protected my soldiers. It showed mercy when killing would have been easier. And because I read the archives, we exterminated an entire species for refusing to be slaves. Oliver led her to the cargo hold. Fluffy was still in the reinforced section, waiting patiently. Fluffy, come here. It's safe. The creature emerged slowly, watching Brill with all 6 eyes. Brill tensed but held her ground. Fluffy approached and sniffed her carefully. Then to Oliver's surprise, Fluffy chirped and gently bumped Brill's hand with its snout. It remembers me, Brill whispered. Fluffy remembers everyone who shows kindness. They moved to the common area where Oliver explained his plan, or rather his lack of a plan. He had no idea what to do next. They could not hide forever. Eventually, someone would find them. Brill was quiet for a long moment. Then she pulled up a star map. There is a planet. Very remote. The Council barely acknowledges its existence. Scientists use it sometimes for long-term studies. And 3 months ago, a research team reported unusual life signs. Large predators that avoided contact. The descriptions match ravagers. Oliver felt hope surge in his chest. There are more of them? Maybe the research team left quickly. They were frightened. But if there is a surviving population, your Fluffy deserves to meet them. The Council will never let us get close to that planet. Brill smiled. It was not a nice smile. Let me worry about the Council. You just fly your ship. Fluffy chirped and settled between them, resting its head on Oliver's lap. Outside the station, wanted posters displayed Oliver's face across every screen. But inside this small ship, a human and a Centaurian planned to reunite a lost species with the only family it had left. The planet hung in space like a green and blue jewel. Oliver had never seen anything quite like it. Thick forests covered most of the land masses. Mountains rose high enough to pierce the clouds. Brill's information said the atmosphere was breathable and the temperature mild. It looked like paradise. It also looked completely empty of civilization. No cities, no roads, no signs that intelligent life had ever touched this world. Oliver checked his sensors 3 times to be sure. This is the place, Brill confirmed from her ship. She had been following Oliver for 2 weeks, covering their trail and misdirecting anyone who tried to follow. The research team detected the life signs in the northern continent. Dense forest region. Oliver glanced back at Fluffy. The creature pressed against the viewing port. All 6 eyes focused on the planet below. Fluffy made a sound Oliver had never heard before. Something between a chirp and a call. The creature's whole body vibrated with excitement. I think Fluffy knows, Oliver said softly. I think it can sense them. Then we should land quickly. I cannot keep the military distracted forever. Eventually they will figure out where we went. They descended through the atmosphere. The ship shook as it hit turbulence, but Oliver kept it steady. Fluffy paced in the cargo hold, too excited to stay still. The creature's chirps grew louder with every kilometer they descended. Oliver found a clearing large enough for both ships. The landing was rough but safe. As soon as the engines powered down, Fluffy was at the door, scratching to get out. Easy, Oliver said, though his heart was pounding just as hard. He opened the cargo door slowly. The forest air rushed in, thick with the smell of growing things. Fluffy took one breath and bolted. The creature moved faster than Oliver had ever seen, crashing through the underbrush like a living missile. Fluffy, wait. Oliver grabbed his gear and chased after the creature. Brill followed, her weapon ready despite Oliver's protest that they did not need it. Fluffy's trail was easy to follow. Broken branches and claw marks showed the path clearly. Oliver ran for 10 minutes before he heard the sounds. Calls that matched Fluffy's, dozens of them, maybe more. He broke through the tree line and stopped dead. Ravagers filled the clearing, at least 30 of them, ranging from juveniles the size of large dogs to massive adults that made Fluffy look small. They were all focused on Fluffy, who stood in the center of the clearing making those calling sounds. An adult Ravager approached slowly. This one had silver streaks through its dark scales and moved with the careful grace of age. It circled Fluffy, sniffing carefully. Then it made a deep rumbling sound. Fluffy chirped and pressed close to the older Ravager. The gesture was unmistakable. Child greeting parent. The older Ravager wrapped its neck around Fluffy and made a sound that Oliver could only describe as relieved. Other Ravagers approached. Some touched Fluffy gently with their snouts. Others made soft chirping sounds. They were welcoming Fluffy home. "This is impossible," Brill whispered. "The records say Ravagers are violent, aggressive. These creatures are showing care." "The records were written by people who tried to enslave them," Oliver replied. "They wrote what they needed to justify genocide." One of the juvenile Ravagers noticed Oliver and Brill. It made a warning sound. Immediately, every adult Ravager turned toward them. Oliver felt his mouth go dry. 30 pairs of eyes all focused on two very small aliens standing at the edge of their territory. The older Ravager moved between Fluffy and the newcomers. It growled, low and dangerous. Oliver raised his hands slowly, showing he had no weapons. Fluffy pushed past the older Ravager and ran to Oliver. The creature pressed against him, chirping frantically. Then Fluffy did something incredible. It moved back and forth between Oliver and the older Ravager, making gentle sounds. Introducing them, the older Ravager tilted its head. It looked at Oliver, then at Fluffy, then back at Oliver. Understanding dawned in those ancient eyes. This small creature had saved Fluffy. This small creature was Pack. The Ravager approached slowly. Oliver's every instinct screamed at him to run, but he held his ground. The creature was easily 4 times Fluffy's size. One bite would end him, but if these creatures were truly intelligent, truly social, then they would understand what Oliver had done for Fluffy. The older Ravager sniffed Oliver carefully. Its hot breath washed over him. Then it made a sound softer than before, not aggressive. Questioning. "I found Fluffy on a research station," Oliver said, knowing the creature could not understand his words but hoping it would understand his tone. "Bad people hurt Fluffy, I helped. I brought Fluffy home." Fluffy chirped and nuzzled both Oliver and the older Ravager. The message was clear. This human is good. This human is family. The older Ravager made a decision. It lowered its massive head and gently bumped Oliver's chest. Not hard enough to hurt, just hard enough to acknowledge. Then it turned and called to the other Ravagers. The tension broke. Juvenile Ravagers rushed forward, curious about the strange visitors. They chirped and sniffed, investigating Oliver and Brill with gentle interest. An adult Ravager approached Brill cautiously. She stood frozen as the creature examined her, then made a soft sound of acceptance. "They are not going to eat us," Brill said, sounding shocked. "They never wanted to eat anyone. They just wanted to be left alone." Oliver spent the rest of the day with the Ravagers. He learned they lived in family groups, hunted cooperatively, and cared for their young with devotion that matched any species in the galaxy. They had language, though not one Oliver could speak. They had art, crude carvings on trees that marked territory and told stories. They were not monsters. They never had been. As the sun set, Fluffy settled next to Oliver. The older Ravager lay on Fluffy's other side. Around them, the pack rested, safe and hidden from a galaxy that wanted them dead. "We need to tell someone," Brill said quietly. "The Council needs to know the truth. They will not believe us. Then we make them believe." Oliver looked at the peaceful scene before him. These creatures deserved better than hiding. They deserved a place in the galaxy. "How?" Brill smiled. "We're going to need a very good lawyer." The council chamber was the largest room Oliver had ever seen. Representatives from 40 species sat in curved rows that rose toward a domed ceiling. Every eye was on the containment field in the center of the room where Fluffy stood, calm and patient. Oliver sat at the defendant's table with Brill beside him. They had turned themselves in 3 days ago, demanding a proper trial. The council had agreed, mostly because half the galaxy was watching. The news networks broadcast every moment. The prosecutor was a tall alien from a species Oliver did not recognize. Its skin was pale blue and its voice carried across the chamber without any amplification. The evidence is clear. The accused stole a known dangerous predator. Ravagers killed thousands during the War of Containment 300 years ago. They cannot be allowed to exist. The War of Containment, Oliver's lawyer stood. Her name was Diana Ross, a human who specialized in interspecies law. Let's talk about that war. The records show Ravagers attacked research facilities and military bases. But why did they attack? Because they are violent by nature, or because those facilities were kidnapping their children. Diana pulled up holographic evidence. Images filled the air above the council floor. Ravager eggs being harvested, young Ravagers in cages, adult Ravagers with collars that delivered electric shocks. The galaxy tried to enslave an entire species, Diana continued. When the Ravagers fought back, you called them monsters and hunted them to extinction. You committed genocide and then rewrote history to justify it. Murmurs filled the chamber. The council leader, an elderly alien with forearms, called for order. These are serious accusations. Do you have proof? I have the original research files from the station where my client found his companion. Files that show Ravagers are highly intelligent social creatures. They have language. They have family structures. They care for their young. Everything the prosecution claims they lack, the prosecutor hissed. Intelligence does not equal safety. The creature killed 17 researchers. After being tortured for months. Oliver stood, unable to stay quiet any longer. I saw the footage. I saw what those researchers did. They burned Fluffy with electricity. They cut samples from living flesh. They kept a juvenile in a cage barely large enough to move. When Fluffy finally broke free, the killing was self-defense. Sit down, human, the prosecutor snapped. No. Oliver walked toward the containment field. Guards tensed, but Diana waved them off. Oliver stopped just outside the field and looked at Fluffy. The creature chirped softly, pressing against the barrier. This creature saved my life, Oliver said to the council. When a second Ravager attacked, Fluffy protected me and a squad of Centaurian soldiers. Fluffy could have killed us all easily. Instead, Fluffy drove the other Ravager away without killing it. That's not the behavior of a monster. That's the behavior of someone who understands mercy. Trained behavior, the prosecutor argued. You conditioned the creature. In 3 days? I'm good, but I'm not that good. Oliver turned to face the council. You want to know what I really think? I think you're all terrified. Not because Ravagers are dangerous, but because you know what your ancestors did was wrong. You cannot face that truth, so you keep calling them monsters. This human insults the council, someone shouted. This human tells the truth. Brill stood as well. I was there. I saw the creature protect my soldiers. I saw it choose mercy when violence would have been easier. And I found evidence of more Ravagers, a whole population, living peacefully on a remote world. They are not attacking anyone. They are simply trying to survive. The chamber erupted. Representatives shouted at each other. Some demanded Oliver's immediate imprisonment. Others called for a proper investigation. The council leader struggled to restore order. Then Fluffy did something no one expected. The containment field was designed to hold creatures 10 times stronger. But Fluffy simply pressed against one section until it bent. The field flickered and failed. Guards raised their weapons. Representatives screamed. Oliver's heart stopped. If Fluffy attacked anyone, everything was over. Fluffy walked calmly across the chamber floor. Guards backed away. The prosecutor dove behind his desk. Fluffy ignored them all. The creature walked straight to Oliver and sat down beside him. Then Fluffy placed its massive head in Oliver's lap, right there in front of the entire council. The chamber fell silent. If this creature wanted to kill anyone here, we would all be dead, Oliver said quietly. But Fluffy does not want to kill. Fluffy wants to live peacefully, just like every other species in this chamber. A young scientist from the back rows stood up. I have studied the files provided by the defense. The Ravagers show every sign of sapient intelligence. They meet all the criteria for protected status under council law. Protected status? The prosecutor's voice was weak. That would make them citizens. That would make them equals, Diana corrected. Which they always should have been. More representatives stood. A debate raged across the chamber. Oliver stopped listening to the words. He focused on Fluffy, scratching gently behind the creature's head. They had done everything they could. Now it was up to the council. Hours passed. The council called for testimonies. Diana presented evidence of Ravager intelligence. Brill testified about Fluffy's protection of her soldiers. Even the young scientist who found the Ravager homeworld spoke about the peaceful society he had observed. Finally, the council leader called for order one last time. We will vote. All in favor of granting protected status to the Ravager species. Lights appeared above each representative's seat. Green for yes, red for no. Oliver watched as green lights spread across the chamber. Not all of them. Some remained firmly red, but more than half turned green. The motion passes, the council leader announced. The Ravager species is granted protected status. All charges against Oliver Reeves are dismissed. This council formally apologizes for the historical genocide. The chamber erupted again, but this time with different energy. Some representatives stormed out. Others approached to offer congratulations. Media drones swarmed, capturing every moment. Oliver barely noticed. He wrapped his arms around Fluffy's neck and let out a breath he felt like he had been holding for weeks. We did it, buddy. You're safe now. Fluffy chirped and nuzzled closer, but outside the council chambers in the dark corners of the galaxy, some were very unhappy with the decision. The holding facility was supposed to be the safest place on the station. Security systems covered every angle. Guards patrolled every corridor. Oliver tried to relax, but his instincts kept screaming that something was wrong. Fluffy felt it too. The creature paced in the temporary enclosure, making low warning sounds. They had been moved here after the trial while the council prepared official documents. Tomorrow they would be free to leave. Oliver just had to survive one more night. The lights went out at midnight. Emergency systems should have activated immediately. They did not. Oliver grabbed his communicator, but it was dead. Every electronic device in the room had stopped working. Fluffy, come here, Oliver whispered. The creature moved to his side instantly. They waited in the darkness, listening. Footsteps. Multiple people moving with military precision. Oliver heard the door locks being overridden. This was not a random power failure. This was an attack. The door exploded inward. Figures in combat armor poured into the room. Their weapons hummed with lethal intent. One of them spoke through a modulated voice. The council made a mistake. We're correcting it. Who are you? People who remember what Ravagers really are. People who lost family to those monsters. The council can grant all the protected status they want. We're ending this tonight. They opened fire. Fluffy moved faster than Oliver thought possible. The creature's armored body blocked the first shots, absorbing the energy that would have killed Oliver instantly. Then Fluffy attacked. The attackers had military training and powerful weapons. Fluffy had 300 years of evolutionary refinement and the desperate need to protect Pack. The fight was brutal and short. Fluffy disarmed 3 attackers without killing them, throwing them against walls hard enough to knock them unconscious. The others retreated, firing as they went. Oliver heard more sounds from the corridor. These attackers had brought reinforcements. A lot of reinforcements. Alarms finally started blaring. The emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. Oliver saw at least a dozen more attackers gathering outside. They had heavier weapons this time. Weapons designed to kill creatures much larger than Fluffy. This is not good, Oliver muttered. Fluffy growled and positioned itself between Oliver and the door. The creature was ready to fight to the death. Oliver's heart broke a little. After everything they had been through, after winning freedom, it was going to end like this. Then the corridor exploded, not from enemy fire, from something hitting the attackers from behind. Oliver heard roars that made Fluffy sound like whispers. The attackers turned to face this new threat, and their confident formation collapsed into chaos. Ravagers poured into the facility. Adults, juveniles, even the older one Oliver had met on the homeworld. They moved as a coordinated unit, taking down attackers with precise strikes. No killing, just overwhelming force that left enemies unconscious or fleeing. Brill appeared in the doorway, her weapon ready. Are you hurt? How did you know? I did not trust the council's security. I may have asked some friends to keep watch. She gestured to the Ravagers filling the corridor. They were very eager to help. The older Ravager approached Fluffy. The 2 creatures touched snouts in what Oliver now recognized as a Ravager greeting. Then the older one turned to Oliver and made a deep rumbling sound. It was expressing gratitude. "You brought the whole pack," Oliver said, feeling emotions he could not name. "You came to save us." More security forces arrived, but these were legitimate council guards. They stopped dead when they saw the ravagers. One guard raised his weapon, but Brill stepped between them. "Lower your weapons. These creatures just saved lives. The real attackers are the ones unconscious on the floor." The guards hesitated but obeyed. One spoke into his communicator, calling for medical teams and requesting immediate presence of council leadership. Within minutes, the facility swarmed with officials and media drones. The story spread across the galaxy in hours. Ravagers had entered a council facility not to attack, but to defend. They had protected a human and stopped a terrorist attack. Every news network showed footage of Fluffy standing protectively over Oliver, while other Ravagers carefully subdued the attackers without killing anyone. Public opinion shifted overnight. The species that voted red in the council chambers faced angry constituents demanding to know why they opposed peaceful creatures. Universities requested permission to study Ravager culture. Conservation groups offered funding to protect the Ravager homeworld. 3 days later, Oliver stood in a hangar preparing his ship for departure. Fluffy waited in the cargo hold with the older Ravager and 2 juveniles. Brill had arranged transport for them back to the homeworld. But there was a complication. A good complication. "The council wants to create an official liaison position," Diana explained. "Someone to help integrate Ravagers into galactic society, make sure their rights are protected, teach other species about their culture. And they want me for this job? You're the only human who speaks any Ravager." "Well, sort of speaks it. Your pronunciation is terrible." Diana smiled. "The position comes with a ship, a crew, and full council authority. You would be the Ravager ambassador?" Oliver looked at Fluffy. The creature chirped and bumped his hand. "What do you think, buddy? Want to show the galaxy what Ravagers are really like?" Fluffy's 6 eyes gleamed with what Oliver swore was excitement. Brill joined them, carrying official documents. "I resigned from the military. Decided I would rather work for someone who makes sense." She handed Oliver the papers. "Also, someone needs to keep you from getting killed." "Apparently that is a full-time job. You're joining my crew?" "Our crew. The young scientist who found the homeworld wants to join too. Says it would be the opportunity of a lifetime." Oliver signed the documents. Just like that, he went from wanted criminal to council ambassador. Life moved fast when you made friends with the galaxy's most misunderstood species. They departed the next morning. Oliver's ship led a small convoy back to the Ravager homeworld. Along the way, they stopped at stations to meet with officials. Every time Fluffy came out to greet people, every time, fear slowly transformed into wonder. By the time they reached the homeworld, 3 more species had requested formal diplomatic relations with the Ravagers. The older Ravager, who Oliver learned was called Elder in their language, accepted with what could only be described as amusement. Oliver stood in the clearing where he first met the pack. Ravagers of all ages played in the grass. Human scientists observed respectfully from a distance. Brill coordinated with council representatives about establishing a proper embassy. Fluffy tackled Oliver from behind, sending them both rolling across the ground. The creature chirped happily, acting like the giant puppy Oliver always knew it was. Other juvenile Ravagers joined the play, careful not to hurt their fragile human friend. Elder approached and made a rumbling sound. Oliver had learned enough Ravager to understand basic concepts. Elder was saying family. "Yeah," Oliver agreed, scratching Elder's snout. "We're all family now," his communicator chimed. Another request for Ravager ambassadors to visit a new world. Another species wanting to learn the truth instead of living with fear. The galaxy was changing, one encounter at a time. Oliver looked at the peaceful scene before him. At the creatures everyone called monsters. At the family he chose and the friends he made along the way. "You know what, Fluffy? Maybe human insanity is exactly what the galaxy needed." Fluffy chirped in agreement and the entire pack joined in, their calls echoing across the forest. The sound of hope, of second chances, of a future where differences were celebrated instead of feared. The human who called a monster Fluffy had changed everything. And the galaxy would never be the same.